You are now listening to Sentinel Soundbytes.
So we are live.
All right, welcome back to the Sentinel Soundbytes podcast, where we aim to give you a look inside life here at ASCTE. And today we are doing that as we are joined by the ASCTE school nurses. That is Miss Lacey, Wright, and Miss Jennifer Raburn. Ladies, first off, thank you for taking some time to be with us today. I want to start and allow you both to kind of give the audience a little background for yourself personally in the medical field. Lacey, we'll start with you. Kind of what's led to you being here at ASCTE with us?
Yeah. So I actually went to nursing school at UAH, so I graduated from there. I'm from Huntsville, so that was nice to stay here and do clinicals here locally and everything. My background is in cardiac nursing, so as soon as I graduated, I did that from day one, and I loved it. Did the hospital setting for a little bit, and then did the clinic setting for a little bit, and then I wanted to do the school setting. So this is the first non-cardiac related nursing that I've done, but it's really more of a general overview of full student health. So that's been neat to tie into.
Very cool. And same question to you there, Jen.
Yeah, so I've been a registered nurse for 23 years, and about 7 years ago jumped into school nursing and was here on day one when ASCTE opened their doors, and have really enjoyed working with students.
But have some prior school nursing not here as well, right? Perfect. So covered different things. So moving in, appreciate you giving us a little background on you all, but I want to, Lacey, let you give us just kind of a brief overview of what a day-to-day in the life of a nurse here at ASCTE looks like.
Sure. So currently we have 5 nurses on staff here. We're not all 5 in the clinic at the same time, but we do have some overlap. In the nursing world, we kind of call them shifts, but I start the day here at 7 to get the clinic ready, and then make sure that I'm here to give medicines to residential students before they go to class in the morning. And then I'm here all throughout the school day. And of course, anytime anything comes up during the school day, the clinic is always open. Students can come and go. And they know that they, kind of have an open relationship with us for anything they need. But the bulk of my day is in the morning before school actually starts, to make sure the resident students have access to their meds. And then all throughout the afternoon, we have different nurses coming in for after-school activities, extracurriculars, and things like that, just anytime a medical need comes up.
Okay, very cool. I appreciate you giving us. We're going to kind of dive into most of those. And Jennifer, I'm going to turn it to you now to talk about, she's talking about these students coming in for morning medicines. We are a boarding school, so these students are living with us, and part of the process of being able to do that is the onboarding, kind of day one, you guys getting to meet the student, meet the family, figure out what those plans are. Can you just give us some kind of glimpse, or give a prospective family a glimpse as the fall is approaching, of what that day one's going to look like if they do have a student that has some type of medical concern or some type of prescribed medication? What does that look like when they get here on day one to meet with you guys?
Yeah, great question. So in the information that the parents have given us through the different portals, we probably have somewhat of an idea of what's coming in. So that's really helpful. We really appreciate parents giving us that insight through Power School. So hopefully we know something before they get here, but definitely on day one at orientation, if they'll touch base with us in the clinic, we're definitely going to have paperwork. Nurses love our paperwork. So we're going to have paperwork that needs to be filled out. Some of it can be done ahead of time, which would be of great help to us. And I think we may talk more about that later.
Sure.
But if there's a diagnosis that we need to know about, making sure that they, again, touch base with us, that we're in understanding about what the student might need for support, medication, potential doctor's visits. And again, even with that diagnosis, even if there's no medication involved, there's probably going to be some paperwork. And that just helps make sure that the nurses, the parent, the student, the teachers, we're all on the same page about what we can do to best support your student.
Yeah, and I feel like in a lot of school settings around here, it's pretty simple, cut and dry. It's, hey, this is the school day and you leave and everybody's going home. Here we keep that 120 plus students with us year round. And part of that, and we're talking like morning daily medications, but a family may be curious, well, what, and Lacey, I'm going to turn this back to you. A family may ask, well, like, hey, is my student keeping their medicine with them? Is that something that, you're going to have someone every day there to distribute medicine? What does that look like? And, what, if someone has curiosities of what they can have on them in their room versus what has to be kept with you, can you give us a little insight to that?
Yeah. So it's not a black and white answer. Every student's different, of course. We typically, our rule of thumb is no first-year students can keep meds in their room if they're residential, and we do have some sophomores that are first-year students, so that would still apply to them. But on top of that, we also interview the students. It depends on the student themselves and the medication, the type of medication. So, we don't let them keep anything that's sleep inducing in their room or more of a safety reason, any kind of medication that could be a safety issue.
Sure.
But if it's a medication that's pretty low risk and the student comes to us and wants to keep that in their room, if they're residential, they just kind of do an interview with us and we kind of check off the list that they know, why they're taking the medicine, how it's appropriately taken and things like that. And then we do still have to know which medicine is in their room. So it's just kind of like a check-in process.
I gotcha.
As far as commuter students that want to keep medications on them, it's the same process. Another general rule that is kind of all across the board is any student that has an allergy or, any kind of emergency medications like an inhaler, those are always allowed to be kept on them, of course. But we still want to know that they have that medication that they need.
Sure.
So
Okay.
it's just a check-in process with the clinic.
Well, I appreciate it. And you touched on the commuter side as well.
Mhm.
I'm sure there's some curiosity there because we have just kind of focused on the boarding side, but we do have a large population of students who drive in that. And does that look, if you are the family of a commuter student, that looks more like your traditional school setting? Like it's more or less probably going to be similar to what they're coming from or accustomed to in a public school setting with the nursing process. So that's great. Appreciate you giving some insight of that. Let's move then. So we've kind of got checked in. Everybody has their medicine, some day-to-day stuff, but unfortunately, things do not always go the way we plan, and people get sick or things happen. And I want to ask about if there's the mom or dad there that Huntsville's not home for them, and their son or their daughter is now hours away from home, and there's this constant worry of, hey, what if something happens? What if my child was to get sick? So, Jen, I'm gonna allow you to talk about what that looks like, really the whole process from identifying to communication when we do have a student come to you guys and you do notice that, hey, there are real symptoms there. What does that look like? And if mom and dad are 6 hours away?
Sure. Yeah. We definitely had that happen in the past several years. So we're talking about residential students. And typically what we would ask them to do is if they wake up that morning and they're not feeling well, or if something came up overnight, if they will please check in with us in the clinic instead of going to first period and then coming back, please check in with us first. That way, if it's something contagious, we're not subjecting everyone else to that. But the nurses will do an assessment on that student and determine whether or not they can head to class or if we need to keep them back in. We have 2 sick bays in our clinic that we can keep people isolated, students isolated. Or maybe they're just needing a rest day and we will give them nurse permission to hang out in their room that day. But regardless of the outcome of that assessment, we're going to communicate that with the parents. Even if they are 6 hours away, we want you to know what's happening with your students here. And then depending on, like I said, the circumstances, the symptoms, what we're suspecting as the illness, we're going to make a decision about whether or not they need to go to the doctor or wait it out, and then make kind of a treatment plan from there on out. And again, we're going to let the parents know what's happening too. If I could give one suggestion to families that might be listening, if you are not close, one thing you could do that would be really helpful for the nurses is, as your student is here, try to find another family that you can connect with. That way, if there's something that your student does need more like local support that you're not able to provide, that gives us someone that we can reach out to and say, hey, the student has some needs. Would you be willing to come and pick them up or help out, go pick up a prescription or something like that? But
Sure.
I know that might be hard from day one, but as the first semester rolls along, your student's going to make friends with someone, and maybe that will become a local support buddy for them.
Yeah, and I've witnessed this happen, and just for if we get to the point where if some mom or dad's sitting there listening and go, yeah, okay, that's great to know, but what if they do need to go to the doctor? That's something we provide transportation for. I've watched both of you at different times jump in the car and drive the student there, so it's something to, you are saying we need that local buddy built in, but also if it's something urgent, that is, you guys just pack up and go and jump in a car and take off and get them there. So hopefully people can be rest assured on that. Talk to us, Lacey, a little about you mentioned having 5 nurses here on staff, and we cover as much as we can, but we have teams and clubs and people going anywhere and everywhere throughout the day. Can you talk to us a little bit about some safeguarding, maybe some policy, some procedure that's in place for when there isn't a nurse like right there directly present, and how you guys work with our teachers and our coaches and our club sponsors, and kind of what that looks like, and making sure that our students are still taken care of, even if you're not within arm's reach right there?
Yeah. So we actually have a nurse phone, we call it. It's a cell phone, but all of the nurses, whoever's in the clinic at that time, has possession of that phone. But we have, obviously all faculty contacts are in there, and teachers will text it all throughout the day or even after school if they're here, if there's a medical need that arises or they need something from the clinic. But on top of that, we also have nurses here on the weekends. It's not a full day like it would be for a school day, but it is some hours in the morning, some hours in the evening, and then kind of like an on-call situation if we need be. But unfortunately, we can't be everywhere all at once. So in those situations, we do have staff that have volunteered to be what we call medication or medical assistants. And that's a pretty in-depth process that they actually have to do a training and take a test and pass the test to be able to administer medications to students if it's a situation that the nurse can't be there, like a field trip or an overnight trip, or, something where a nurse is not available. But also, we have medical backpacks that we provide with your typical first aid stuff, Band-Aids, simple stuff like that faculty and staff can have access to if they need to. But yeah, we try to cover all of our bases if we can.
Yeah, as much as you can. I mean, what do you mean you can't be everywhere at once? Come on now. Also, in conversation, we were talking just off air, and I find this to be there's so many things I find unique here at ASCTE, but one of them being the collaboration that exists. And one thing, you guys are a part of our student services team, so that embodies student life, residential life, some academic services. I'm probably missing something else, but can you talk about, and Jen, I'll let you have this one since you've been here kind of since the opening, the importance of that collaboration and being plugged in, where once a week you're sitting down with our dean of students and our residence life director and other members of our faculty, and you're getting you're not just focused about the wellness of the students, this well-being. Can you talk about, from your perspective, especially having other school experience and also having a child that has graduated from this school, can you kind of talk about how that works and what that means, and maybe how unique it is, and how it benefits you guys and your team?
Yeah. So these ASCTE students are great. But this can be a tough school to be at too. There's a lot of academic things and other things that they have going on as well. So we get together all the different disciplines that you just mentioned, and we talk about students that we might be concerned about. So maybe a student seems to be struggling in the classroom. We'll talk about that, and then that gives the rest of us the ability to have a heads up about that student. So if we notice that they're coming in multiple times to the clinic, then it could be a bigger picture thing that we need to be looking for. But it allows us to get a broader net of support for that student who might be going through something difficult, whether it's a personal hardship that they're facing, or maybe school's just tougher than they thought. It gives us eyes on that. Whereas if it weren't for that meeting, we wouldn't really know what was happening to them on the field or in the classroom.
Sure. Well, I appreciate you sharing that. It's just something that I think, from my experience in schools, you don't often see the nurses and team sitting around with the dean of students, and just once a week, and I get to see that meeting happen. So appreciate you sharing some insight there. Lacey, she gave us earlier kind of her piece of advice, if she could. Is there anything that you kind of have that you would like to share, if something that from your perspective that could help the process, or maybe help students that you've seen here in your time that we haven't talked about, that you would share with a prospective or current family?
Yeah. I think what she touched on was great to, definitely get some local support if you're not from this area. But like she said, it's easy for the students to connect because of residential life and so many activities they plan, even if they're not residential. A lot of time the commuter students will come to those activities to see their friends from, the day. But one piece of advice I guess I could give just for the students' well-being is the parents just to communication. We're always in communication with the parents if their child is sick, but also if we just need anything to better support that student. So whether it be a medical need, or like Jen was saying, sometimes they have issues that are not medical that could lead to medical if they're stressed or not getting enough sleep or things like that we kind of talk about in that student services meeting. So just being able to have that connection with parents and communication And then just the students as well know that our clinic is always open, and they have more than just the nurses on their side. They have the dean of students in residential life.
So in talking there about helping out with the transportation and logistics for students that might need to get to a doctor, there's also the piece that doesn't get talked about there, that we're talking about families that are not from this area, so they may not have familiarity with the offerings and the practices that are here in our town. So can you talk about, like, how does that work if mom and dad get a call and son or daughter is sick and needs to go to the doctor? Well, I don't know any doctors in Huntsville, so how does that kind of work? How do you guys take over and help support that?
Sure. So for one, we can't do any diagnostic testing in our clinic. So if we see a student, assess them, and we know that they're sick and may need, a strep test, a flu test, those types of things, we have 2 local clinics that have agreed to see our students, which has been so great. One that's just a general kind of like sick visit clinic that can do all of that testing. And the other is more for like a sports medicine clinic for any injuries or after school type issues. But they can also see those clinics. We arrange the appointment. We obviously fill parents in, letting them know they're going to see the doctor in case there's a copay or something along with that. But they can also get medications prescribed if they're needed to a local pharmacy. And we actually arrange clinic coverage to have a nurse transport them to that visit and then transport them back to school. But again, communicating parents is a big piece of that if they're going to be missing class for this appointment or things like that. But the 2 clinics that we have locally have been really good helping with our students this past year.
Perfect. And you talking about missing class, Jen, you had kind of made the comment off the air that our kids don't like doing that a lot around here. So it's a little unique nursing spot because you're not, I'll let you kind of talk about what you shared with me. I thought that was an interesting perspective. So if you don't mind sharing your view on that with us.
Yes. So the ASCTE students are the best. I think they're the best in the state, and they're so highly motivated to be on campus, to be in school. When they come to the nurse's office, they're not trying to get out of class. In traditional school, you see a kid, you have to kind of weed through, like, okay, are you just trying to go home? Is that what this bellyache is about? But not these students. So that kind of puts the onus on us to really sort through and assess and figure out what's happening with them. We know they're not trying to go home. So what do they need? And then how can we best get them that care? That's our job.
Well, ladies, I appreciate you taking the time here with us and for keeping our students safe and well, and our faculty for that matter, and everyone here, and keeping us safe and happy and healthy, and look forward to another school year coming up, and we will be curious to see all the exciting things coming from residential life, from the student life, and that you guys allow to happen. So thanks again for your time, and we look forward to seeing you all soon.
Thank you.
So we are live. All right.